In 1887, a woman digging for fertilizer in the Egyptian desert found a hole full of clay tablets. Nobody knew what they were. Some were sold for pennies. Some were ground up. Some crumbled in transit and were thrown away. What survived turned out to be the Foreign Office of the Egyptian Empire. 380 letters written to the pharaoh by kings and governors across the ancient Near East, 3,300 years ago, in a language that was not Egyptian. And buried in that pile is one man. He wrote about 50 letters, more than anyone else in the archive. You can read them in order, and watching them in order is like watching a man walk down a staircase in the dark. The first ones are formal, correct. 7 times, 7 times I bow at the feet of the king, my lord. By the end, he is writing, I send and I repeat the message, and you listen not thereto. His city fell. His brother took it. His sons were captured at sea. And every stage of it is preserved in his own words, because the palace that ignored him filed his letters carefully enough that they survived for 3 millennia. His name was Ribadda. Start with what these tablets actually are, because it explains why we have them at all. Around the middle of the 14th century BC, Egypt was the dominant power in the Eastern Mediterranean. It did not rule Syria and Canaan directly. It ruled through vassals, local kings, and city governors who kept their thrones on the condition that they stayed loyal, paid what was owed, and did not make trouble. And they wrote to Egypt constantly. They did not write in Egyptian. They wrote in Akkadian, the diplomatic language of the entire ancient Near East, a Mesopotamian language, on Mesopotamian clay, in cuneiform, sent to a pharaoh. That single fact tells you something people forget about this period. This was a connected world with a shared professional language of statecraft, running from Babylon to the Nile. The archive was found at el-Amarna, the short-lived capital built by Akhenaten. And it is not a monument, it is administrative correspondence, the ancient equivalent of a filing cabinet. That is exactly what makes it valuable. Monuments lie by design, filing cabinets do not. Kings write in it about gold. The king of Cyprus writes about copper, 200 talents in one letter, 100 in another, and asks for silver in return, and a gilded chariot, and 42 garments, and 17 boxes of good oil. He complains that Egyptian customs officers keep interfering with his ships. And underneath that layer of trade and marriage negotiation, there is a second layer, the vassals. The men on the ground in Syria and Phoenicia, watching their world come apart, writing to a palace that is very far away. Ribadda governed a city called Gebal. You know it by its Greek name, Byblos, on the coast of what is now Lebanon, an old, wealthy, important port, Ribadda calls it, in one of his last letters, the chief city of the land, and says there is plenty of all that is royal in her midst. His problem had a name too, 2 names in fact, Abdasherah, and then Abdasherah's sons, chief among them, Aziru, an Amorite family expanding out of the interior, taking coastal cities one by one, and here's the part that makes this a tragedy rather than a war story. Aziru was also writing to Egypt, from the same archive, explaining himself, protesting his loyalty, giving his version. So the pharaoh's officials were reading letters from both men, one saying the region is being conquered, the other saying everything is under control. Ribadda's earliest letters are still confident. He uses a long, elaborate salutation that the translators noted is peculiar to him. Baloth of Gebal, the goddess of his city, has given power to the king my lord. At the feet of the king my lord, my son, 7 times, 7 times I bow. Then, in the same letter, the first crack. The king has not feared for me. Here is the thing most people get wrong about this story. Egypt was not silent. Ribadda records replies. In one letter, he notes that the king promised to send a man named Abdasherah, and Abdasherah has not come. In another, he says he was ordered to send a ship. He mentions paying silver to the men who carried a royal letter to him. Somewhere in the palace, someone was reading these tablets, drafting responses, issuing instructions, and sending them north. The instructions arrived. The soldiers did not. And that is a far more familiar kind of abandonment than silence. Silence you can interpret. Silence might mean the letters never arrived. What Ribadda got was acknowledgement, the confirmation that he had been heard, followed by nothing. So he kept writing, because why would you stop when they keep answering? Read the letters in sequence, and you can watch the specific things he loses. First, the outlying towns. He reports which cities have fallen this month, which chiefs have gone into exile, which garrison commanders have failed. Then the food. This is where it turns. In one letter, 3 years of failed harvest. Then thrice has come upon me a year of storms, and again a year of storms begins. My wheat is naught. The wheat for us to eat, and the seed corn set aside for sowing, is finished. The beasts, the herbs, the trees of their gardens are wretched in my unhappy land. He asks the king to send wheat in ships. His phrasing, send us corn, and thy servant shall live. Then the livestock and the money. Aziru is destroying me, he writes. There are no oxen for me. Aziru has taken all, and there is no corn for my eating. Then the men. He explains that the garrison troops Egypt did station with him had to be fed out of his own failing country, that Egypt asked him for corn to feed the soldiers Egypt had sent, from what he calls my poor country. The help was costing him more than it gave. And then his cities. As for me, my cities are Azirus. The translators notice the salutations changing. The long, ornate formulas at the start of each letter get shorter as the situation gets worse. By the end, they are curt, a man running out of the energy for ceremony. There is a letter, badly broken, only fragments legible, that contains one sentence. They have cut off 2 of my ships, with my sons and all that was mine. His children were taken at sea. And there is something else in this archive that most people never notice. Ribadda's father was still alive, and he was in Egypt, working the palace on his son's behalf. There is a letter from Ribadda addressed to a man called Rabzabi, signed thus Ribadda thy son, asking him to complain to the king. And there is the reply. To Ribadda my son, thus by letter says Rabzabi thy father. May our gods prosper thee, prosper thy fortress. His father tells him the decrees have been issued, that the king has asked, and this is the king's own line, quoted back, why do ye make a wasteland to those who are servants? That the king said, dispatch men to my friend, I shall send a garrison for the chief city, that soldiers are being gathered, an old man in the Egyptian court, pulling every string he can reach, writing to his son to say, I have got it done, help is coming. It did not come in time. The final letter in the sequence is the one that stays with you. The salutation is short now, 7 times and 7 times. Then, I send and I repeat the message, and you listen not thereto. He explains that the garrison soldiers failed with him, that his brother went out as his envoy, and it was no use, that they have defeated him, and they make him flee from the city. He mentions his sons again in a line about the future. It is not granted to my sons to take root for me. He says the city has fallen to the sons of Abdasherah, and that Gebal is full, full of silver and gold in the temple of the gods, plenty of everything if they take her. He has one request left, and it is not for an army. It is for somewhere to live. He asks the king to appoint him a small town in the mountains, Buruzizi, as a dwelling. And he says he is sending his own son, Kamu, to Egypt to stand in the palace and make the request in person. The last thing he writes is, "Restore thou me to the chief city and to my house as of old." There is no letter after that, no record of a return to Gebal, no record of an Egyptian victory over the Amorites. The man who wrote 50 letters, who wrote more than anyone else in the entire archive, stops writing. His 19th century translator, at the end of the sequence, wrote a sentence that is unusual for a scholarly edition. He said, "We do not know that he got safe to Buruzizi, but can only hope he did." Here is why this is the most quietly devastating document in the ancient world. Ribadda was not ignored. He was answered. He was promised. His father lobbied the court in person and got the decrees signed. Every part of the system did something, except the part that would have mattered. And the reason we can read all of this is the final irony. The letters survive because Egypt's palace kept them. Someone filed each tablet as it arrived. Someone shelved a man's collapse, in order, in a room. And then the capital was abandoned, and the desert covered it. And 3,300 years later, a woman looking for fertilizer dug into it. We have his words because the bureaucracy that failed him was excellent at record keeping. Somewhere in that pile, there is a letter from the man who took his city saying everything is fine. Subscribe for more history that got buried.